Free Speech Nation. Shadow Equality Secretary Annalise Dodds said this week Labour's new Race Equality Act will represent significant change. The party argues it will enshrine in law the right to equal pay for black, Asian and ethnic minority people. So here to join me to discuss this is Alka Sehgal Cuthbert from the campaign group Don't Divide Us. Alka, welcome to the show. I was under the impression that it's been illegal to pay people differently on the basis of skin colour for 5 decades or so. Am I wrong about this?
No, you're not wrong. I think what the Act is attempting to do, part of it, is to do things like make mandatory reporting necessary for all employers on racial disparities, and to also sort of introduce the same thing that was introduced through Athena Swan, which is to make work, rather than like 2 people doing the same job, it's like comparing work, which sounds sensible, like for like jobs, but actually it's much more complicated than that. You know, you could be in a classroom and have a teaching assistant and a teacher, and you'd look at it, and on the surface of it, from observation, it might seem that they're doing the same work. And the teaching assistant might think that he or she is doing the same work, but actually the jobs are very different. The prior experience, prior qualifications are very different.
But is there a racial pay gap? Because that's what Labour seem to be claiming. And if that is the case, is that because of systemic racism in various companies, or is it because of something else?
Well, look, I think that's it's a really important question to ask of this Act. Is it addressing a real and well understood problem? And I think the answer is it's really hard to tell, because the way it's being presented by Annalise Dodds and Keir Starmer is in a very politicised way. You know, it's making grand generalisation, sweeping statements that are encouraging us to believe that a disparity must be discrimination. And of course, we know that it isn't. If you actually look at the statistics, official statistics, you'll see a much more complicated picture. You know, so for example, if we're looking at household incomes, when you're looking at the person in the household with the highest income, you'll see that it's Indian, Chinese and white ethnic groups that come out best, you know, that have the highest household incomes. If you're looking at a different set of criteria, then it is true that black African or black British employees earn less median gross salary than the white employees. But, and this is a really frustrating thing, because the Race Equality Act as it's presented and conceived of at the moment will not address this. If you look at the country of birth, then you see that it's actually UK-born black African, Caribbean and black British people earn more than white people. Now, to me, that would suggest that it's something worth looking at. It's worth investigating. It probably has something to do with migration. And if you're looking at migration, then you're also be looking at other people from East Europe that are coming in. And you'll be looking at language, you'll be looking at family support, networks, etc. But none of this is being looked at. Instead, we're having this very blunt instrument that is really an example of the way Starmer and Annalise Dodds and a section of the Labour Party are really going quite down. They're unable to withstand and ask questions of, you know, so-called anti-racist activists. I would say they're new racist activists. They're re-racialising everything, and it's to the depth of actually tackling real problems.
And we do have this phenomenon cropping up again and again, don't we? When we had the Commission for Racial and Ethnic Disparities report, and they were looking into schools in particular, and they made the point that there's no evidence of systemic racism in the education system. And in fact, if you look very closely at the statistics, you'll find that although black children from a Caribbean background aren't performing as well as white children, black children from an African background are performing better than white children. In other words, if it is systemic racism, it's of an oddly targeted kind. But they were criticised by the Runnymede Trust and others because they failed to find the answer that it is, yes, it is, must be systemic racism. Is that just a problem now, a sort of determination from campaigners and activists to put everything down to systemic racism?
It is a real problem. I mean, the promotion of the ideas that these activists and these charity groups are promoting very vigorously is a real problem for anyone that believes in truth, anyone that actually wants to understand society as complex, people are complex, that you need a good, robust social science methodology, not just quick qualitative reports where you go out and interview people or you just look at one set of statistics. And you need the really chilling thing is that the way they're promoting this revealed belief almost, you look at a disparity and racism is revealed. That's all you need. It's chilling space you need for free speech to actually investigate this properly. So they're actually, doing a disservice to the very people they claim they want to help. But they are, of course, being very well funded, get a lot of, cultural and moral kudos for promoting this very divisive narrative.
Yes, and of course that's why Don't Divide Us exists, to address this narrative that we all must be divided. Where can people find out more about the group?
Please do come to our website, don'tdivideus.com. If you like what we're doing, please support us, subscribe to us, and watch out for us, because we are serious about this. This is a serious problem. It needs tackling.
Alka Sehgal Cuthbert, thanks very much for joining me. And of course, what Don't Divide Us do is that they attempt to counter this narrative that we are an inherently backward, evil, racist society. They say that we have more in common. And, that seems to me a very positive thing, but of course they're attacked for doing so.
Well, I love what she's saying about looking at the detail of a problem. When, if you fail to ask the right questions and you just lazily say, the country's racist, you're not helping people at all. You're not achieving anything.
So why is the Labour Party so determined to paint us as a racist country?
Because it gives them control and power over people. I mean, diversity, equity, and inclusion. It's a way of organising society.
Yes.
And interestingly, a lot of far right people, a lot of old school racists, like genuine racists, think that diversity, equity, and inclusion is fantastic because it divides people by racial groups.
Exactly. Well, I think that's the point of Don't Divide Us.